Hello and welcome back to the Concept Checkup. The point of Concept Checkup is to dive into the Warframe forums, look for a community-made Warframe concept, and talk about it. For the purpose of Concept Checkup, I will use my custom-built evaluating method known as AS. Without further ado, let's begin the checkup. For today's checkup we have Theraph, the Arachnid Warframe. Theraph was created by Cryon112 on the Warframe forums. Unlike Furion, who has the ability to transform into beast form, Theraph himself does not transform into a spider. Rather, he has full control over any arachnids he spawns, which act as minions against Theraph's enemies. Like Furion, Theraph has his own unique resource called Substance, which I will get into in a moment. Because of his kit, Theraph functions as a mixture of support and damage, allowing him to keep enemies pinned down for himself, his minions, or his allies to finish off. Theraph is a bit of a squishy frame, as he has an average shield capacity, high energy capacity, and an above-average sprint speed, as well as low health and average armor. Much like a Volt, it might be best to mod Theraph for the highest possible shield capacity. Theraph also has access to a unique proc called Snare, which prevents an enemy from moving, but the enemy can still attack. Theraph's passive is Sexual Surface, which allows Theraph to stick to any wall for an infinite amount of time, and while wall latching, Theraph and his minions deal increased damage. While the passive is very fitting for a spider-themed frame, only being able to receive the damage buff by wall latching seems a bit restrictive for a Warframe. I would suggest that Theraph also gain the damage buff while gliding, much like a real-life gliding spider. Anyways, Theraph's first ability is Ensnare. Upon activation, Theraph fires out a web projectile that does not deal any damage, but instead ensnares/roots the struck enemy. If Ensnare instead hits a surface, it will remain there as a web mine, which will ensnare the first enemy that comes too close. If Theraph uses Ensnare on an already ensnared target, Theraph is pulled to the targeted enemy and can harvest their health, killing them in the process while gaining substance. Theraph's minions can also be harvested in case Theraph has to recycle substance. Judging by how Ensnare is a single target CC ability, if it can function against bosses and/or assassins, Ensnare would have a lot of team potential, particularly against Mana Grineer. Ensnare could also work as a semi-escape ability, since Theraph can pull himself to an ensnared enemy. This would depend on the range of Ensnare, however. In either case, Ensnare is basically a point-and-click route. Theraph's second ability is Weave. By holding down the 2 key for a certain amount of time, Theraph can summon one of 5 minions. He can summon a Mite, which is basically the same as an infested maggot, a Prowler, which is an offensive spider with a gun, a Watcher, which is a giant spider turret that cannot move, a Collector, which pulls dangerous enemies away from you, or a Mutilator, which is a big tanky spider that is limited to melee damage only. Theraph can cast Weave again on a minion to heal it at the cost of 50 energy. Each minion takes a certain amount of substance in order to spawn, in addition to 25 energy per cast. This is in place in order to make it so Theraph has to keep harvesting if he wants to keep spawning minions, rather than relying on a trinity to keep him supplied at all times. I enjoy the idea of spawning unique spiders each with a unique purpose, but spider turrets seem a bit too bizarre for a spider frame. I know that this is Warframe and that a lot of things are bizarre, but I expected more of Theraph's spiders to be melee only rather than have a gun strapped to their backs. All of Theraph's minions do not live by health, but rather by duration, much like Volt's electric shield, except for Mites, which have health rather than duration. Theraph also has the Thrift Bind Augment, which lowers the cost it takes to fully heal a minion down to 25 energy, and also briefly makes the minion immune to all damage. This augment just seems like it's mandatory for Theraph, since it makes his minion spawning mechanic cheaper to use, as well as giving them a temporary god mode period after being healed. I'd like to see some sort of downside put in place to make Thrift Bind a trade-off augment, but then again augments aren't mandatory for a player. Theraph's third ability is Mutagen Strands. Mutagen strands can only be used on Theraph's minions or on allies. If Theraph uses mutagen strands on a minion, the minion gains additional abilities and becomes stronger, much like the engineer's turret. If Theraph uses mutagen strands on a teammate, the ally gains immunity to all procs as well as temporary damage resistance. It's important to note that mutagen strands gives a Warframe damage resistance of 25% when maxed, rather than damage immunity like Trinity's Blessing. Mutagen strands looks like a great way to help out your team, whether it be by buffing your minions into mowing down the opposition, or buffing your squad mates to help them in combat. Theraph's fourth ability is Orb. When Orb is activated, Theraph creates a large zone that draws all enemies into it, slowing them in the process. Any ally in Orb gains damage resistance and increased damage. Orb also spawns void spiders, which are completely immune to damage and draw enemy fire, but die after a certain amount of time, and only 4 void spiders can be alive at any given time. Orb seems a little overloaded, given that it's a minion spawner, an ally buffer, and an enemy debuffer all in one. To make things a little more logical and easier, I suggest that the ally damage resistance bonus be removed and replaced with another enemy debuff. Any enemies that are drawn into the orb become ensnared until the orb ends. That way, orb behaves a little more like an actual spider web. Orb has the strong veil augment, which turns all allies near the orb invisible after a few seconds of not attacking. Yeah, I really don't see much use in strong veil. Orb is an enemy attraction zone, so not using orb to kill as many enemies as possible just seems a bit like a waste of energy to me. With supportive and damaging abilities together, Theraph is sure to pack a punch in any possible team composition, even on a purely offensive one. Since Theraph also has to manage energy and substance, the skill level for Theraph might be a little weird to get into, since no other Warframes have a secondary resource. Now, here are Theraph's scores. With minion spamming capabilities as well as some supportive things thrown in, Theraph sounds like the perfect frame for any needy button spamming player. If anything, Theraph is an offensive button spamming frame while Necros is a utility button spamming frame. For my personal thoughts, while I'm not a fan of having to micromanage energy in addition to another resource to keep up minions, I do however like the idea of being able to have AI do all the work for me. So that's Theraph's Checkup. Tune in next time where I will perform a concept checkup on Vigil. Thank you for watching.